Okay, thank you, Mr. Curl. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Right, how everybody doing? First, I would like to send greetings to each of our board members and to the citizens who were able to join us today's meeting on October the 27th. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Got the time at 11:06. We will now call this meeting to order. Beverly will start us off with the roll call.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman Cody.
Yes, here.
Okay, Vice Chair Jones.
He's going to be about 15 minutes late.
Thank you, sir. Dr. O'Halloran.
Here.
Director Edmister. He's here for the record, Chairman. I think he just stepped away from the camera view. Director Leggett.
Present.
Director Lakakis. Director Robinson.
Here.
Director Stone.
Present.
Director Odell.
Here.
Thank you. Chairman, we have a quorum of the board.
We have what?
We have a quorum of the board this morning.
All righty. We have our presentations. We have two items under presentations. We will start with Ms. Molden, giving us an introduction to the Aspire Consultant Group while they present to the board the results of the diversity and inclusion assessment. Today, as you see on the agenda, we will be opening a portion of this meeting for a purpose of public hearing and receive comments from the public in regards to proposed service changes and modifications. However, before doing that, I would like to ask CAT CEO or her appointed staff member to move us forward in presenting the actual proposed service changes. Ms. Molden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to all the members of the board and the public of Chatham County and beyond. I am pleased to present to you the results of the diversity and inclusion assessment. If you recall, that was something that we touched on as I started as the CEO here a little over 100 days ago. This is one of the tools that we have used to try to get a sense of what the work environment is like here at Chatham Area Transit. And so we have asked Aspire Workplace Solutions to come and give a brief overview to the board of what they found in terms of our workforce and our company culture. And so with that being said, I'm actually going to turn it over to Aspire Workplace Solutions to offer their findings and have their presentation. And I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good morning, and thank you, Ms. Malden. Good morning again. I am Dr. Tori Ramsey. Along with me this morning, I have Ms. Tawana Everhart. We're both from Aspire Workplace Solutions Corporation. It's a pleasure to meet you all this morning to review the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Report. Should you have by now you should have received a more detailed report. We want to be respectful of your time, but of course, if you have any further questions beyond today, please feel free to email us at info@aspirewsc.com. And we shall begin.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we want to start with what is the purpose? Why do we have the diversity, equity, inclusion assessment? And the reason being is that CAT is committed to driving employee development and organizational culture. In order to do this, CAT's leadership believed it was important for a wellness check and to learn what areas needed focus to achieve an inclusive and sustainable work environment. CAT, of course, is on a journey to ensure healthy workplace culture. The journey leads to a path of intentional conversations, professional development and growth, and review of organizational policies and practices. So, what is diversity, equity, and inclusion? And there are 4 layers of diversity. And first, I want to define what exactly diversity is. And diversity means differences and commonalities of people and groups. As you can see, there are 4 layers of diversity based on this model designed by Gardner Watson Rowe that identifies the various dimensions of diversity. The model correlates roughly with legally protected areas of discrimination. However, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the 4 layers of diversity, but it's not an exhaustive list. Level 1 is different types of personalities, such as openness, conscientious, agreeable, extroversion. Level 2, internal dimensions that consist of age, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability, ethnicity, race. Level 3 is external dimensions that includes geographic location, income, personal habits, recreational habits, religion, educational background, work experience, appearance, parental status, and marital status. And level 4 is organizational dimensions that involves functional level, work content field, division, department, unit, group, seniority, work location, union affiliation, management status. In terms of equity, equity is when there's a level playing field, all individuals receive fair treatment, have equal access to opportunities in the workplace, and then there is inclusion, which gives you a sense of belonging, feeling value, and able to contribute your talents in the workplace. So Aspire Workplace Solutions conducted a qualitative and quantitative analysis to catch up and understand the climate and culture of CAT. The type of assessment tools that were utilized were Leadership Shadow, which provided individual feedback sessions with leadership team, leadership focus groups, thematic analysis, online non-management survey, start, stop, and continue feedback, review of organizational policies and procedures, and listen to randomly pulled calls from the call center. Now, looking at the demographics regarding participants of the employee non-management survey, 79.75% were identified as Black or African American, 11.39% identified as white Caucasian, 3.8% identified as Hispanic, Latino, 0% for Asian American, 1.27% American Indian or Alaska Native, 0% Native Indian, Pacific Islander, and 3.80% identified as other race. As it relates to gender, majority of the respondents were females at a percentage of 63.75. The male respondents yielded at 35%, 0% genderqueer or non-binary, and 1.25% identified as a gender. The respondents from the non-management staff received majority of the responses, which came from the bus drivers, and that was at 39.2%. Paratransit drivers, 12.20%. Hostler, 2.44%. Cleaner utility, 4.88%. Mechanic, 7.32%. Safety and training, 2.44%, and other, 31.71%. But there were 83 respondents to the non-management survey, and only 3% of employees participated. Most of the respondents were from the transportation department. So looking at the chart, you can see as far as opportunity to grow in their career, 43.37% feels they are able to do so. 45.79% they feel valued and appreciated in the workplace. 48.9% feel leadership effectively communicate goals and expectations. 62.65% feel they have the necessary tools to be successful, and 38.55% see a strong leadership or CAT's value of diversity.
Can we ask questions?
You certainly can, but if we can get done with the presentation, then
Got it.
at the very end, yes, sir, you can. Thank you. So at 40.24% feel they can voice a contrary opinion without fear of consequences. 35.37% feel when they speak up, their opinions matter. 38.56% feel that individuals of different backgrounds are encouraged to apply for higher positions, and 37.81% feel there is a career development path for all employees at CAT, and then 28.91% feel promotion decisions are fair. As it relates to job performance, 57.83% feel they are evaluated fairly. 56.62% feel their compensation is fair. 72.59% feel they know where and how to report discrimination. 53.1% feel CAT's policies and procedures discourage discrimination. 51.80% believe that appropriate actions will be taken in response to discrimination. Looking at the qualitative data from leadership, the emerging expose diversity initiative and training has been non-existent. However, if diversity training is presented, they would certainly welcome it. There was not full participation with the assignment of the focus groups from the leadership team. This could present a sign of communication issues or lack of trust. There appears to be a sense of awareness and about discussions regarding climate and culture. And what I mean by that is the leadership team and staff would like to see follow through on what they're told. So the findings reveal there is not an overall concern regarding diversity, equity, inclusion for the organization as a whole. However, there are other issues that we have identified and that will be later discussed in this presentation. So now we're discussing the procurement assessment. So Aspire thought it was necessary and important to assess CAT's procurement activity from 2018 through 2020 regarding the DBE program. The DBE is Disadvantaged Business Enterprises. This is for minority and women-owned businesses who have historically been unrepresented. This ensures opportunities to compete for federally funded contracts for transportation projects. So what we found, CAT does not have a record of awards to DBEs prior to 2019 and in 2020. CAT has 3 vendors with DBE certification in its procurement vendor base as of today. The recommendation is to develop a thorough tracking procurement database, create a statement of commitment to supplier diversity, build relationships in supplier diversity spaces, utilizing community partners, and investigate future opportunities for services. review the data at the end of 2020 and make any necessary updates. So what are the recommended next steps? It is strongly recommended that you create opportunities to reflect on data findings and hear the voices of your employees and acceptance. There are some departmental concerns. And with that, it's recommended investigation by third party to determine validity of claims of discrimination. Develop diversity, equity, and inclusion task force to begin the process for planning and recommendations for action plans in 2021. Develop an action plan in 2021 to address key aspects of recruitment, professional development, leadership, and culture. Work with a third-party vendor to develop a thorough tracking procurement database. Build strong relationship in supplier diversity spaces. Utilize community partners that CAT currently has and investigate future opportunities for services. Make plans to schedule a climate and culture reassessment in fall 21 to see if there's been any growth and changes within the year. And lastly, diversity, equity, and inclusion training is suggested. So with that being said, I am now turning over to Ms. Tawana Everhart. Tawana.
Thank you. So as Dr. Torrey mentioned, we did not see an overall blatant form of discrimination within the organization. However, we did find some concerns. A couple of things that we found is that management is inconsistent in how they hold employees accountable. So there was a review of some disciplinary actions, and it's just, we've heard over and over again, we heard that from the leadership team, plus I'm going to show you the key findings from this survey done by the non-management team, that there was a concern for favoritism, and there's an inconsistency in how employees are treated. So management also lacks adequate employment law training, which is very important because without that training, the organization is open to risk and fines from the government. The annual performance reviews are very subjective. They don't have departmental goals with them, and they had the reviews were subjective to the point that the managers could not tell me what the employee needs to do to exceed an expectation or to meet the expectation. A lot of it is based upon how the manager may be feeling. There's certainly a lack of a one team, one CAT environment, and that was evident by a lot of the departmental blaming. So the impacts of these things is there's a lack of trust in leadership within CAT, and we know with the lack of trust, that's going to affect the morale, the environment, and the performance of the organization. Some of these things are leading to a perceived form of discrimination. There's a fear of retaliation within the organization, which is affecting the morale also. There's no clear justification for promotions, especially if you're using a subjective annual performance review. And we heard that some people they feel that there's favoritism. And then again, there's departmental blaming within the organization. So I'm going to pull the key findings from the survey, and this was done by the non-management team. So a little over 40%, if you go to page 9 in the report that we sent you, you'll have the specific numbers. A little over 40% feel that they receive regular ongoing feedback. A little over 30%, however, feels that leadership is consistent in holding employees accountable. It was said over and over again that there are some people that are held harshly. There are some people that are more liberal. The good thing is that over 82% of them, it was about 83% of them, feel that the work that they do is meaningful. And that's certainly a win for CAT. However, sensitive information discussed within leadership remaining confidential. Only about 33% of the people feel that anything that they discuss within CAT remains confidential. They also felt like about 62% of the people feels that CAT operates in a manner that CAT does not operate in a manner that prevents favoritism. As Dr. Torrey Ramsey mentioned earlier, about 50% feel that they have equal opportunities. But the trust in the leadership team, less than 30% of the people have trust in the upper leadership team. A little over 30% feel that leadership acts with integrity and ethical character. About 25% feel that leadership makes this the best place to work. And about 50% feel that leadership is knowledgeable of their role. So what are the recommended next steps? Although we identified a lot of the issues, the great thing is we feel that with these recommended next steps, all of this can be turned around. The very first thing, though, we recommend is that a third-party vendor comes in and audit the HR department. Why is this necessary? One, because there is no internal HR audit process. And all of us know that we have to inspect what we expect. So how can you say that there's not a discrimination or favoritism if there's no internal HR process to validate the claims and to ensure that the claims have been followed, discrimination cases or any kind of complaints have been handled properly? This third-party auditor can come in and review those things up against your policies and procedures. You certainly want to revamp your performance reviews. The subjectivity of those performance reviews could lead to perceived discrimination. Leadership training and development. That is an imminent need within the organization. The great thing I do know is that they have access to the LinkedIn training portal to take courses. However, there's no accountability or expectation once the courses have been taken. We recommend that you also have an electronic or LMS, a learning management system that could track the learning and development of the leadership team. There needs to be leadership accountability. The leadership must be held accountable to hold all employees the same and to uphold the policies and procedures of CAT. We also suggest that you incorporate more employment engagement activities so that the employees can feel more valued. And last, the quarterly employee surveys. Because the scores are so low, and once you start putting these things in place, we believe that the change could be quickly done. And so therefore you can monitor the success by quarterly employee surveys. So thank you all for giving us the opportunity. Now, if you have any questions, we will certainly address those with you.
Director Edminster, did you still have questions? You're on
You're
mute.
muted.
I had a question on the slide labeled key findings. There was a note on the bottom I just wanted to get some clarity on. Boom, there we go. There were 83 respondents to the survey. Only 3% of employees participated. What does that mean? Is that correct?
Out of the total amount of employees, only 83%, only 83 people participated, and there are 279 or something.
So I think it's 30%, not 3%.
Yes.
Okay. How are we feeling about that?
That only 30% participated?
Yeah, I would imagine that, for the sake of, looking at findings like this and trying to pull some data from them, that's a fine number to have. I mean, we would always want more, but.
Well,
Dr.
of course,
Ramsey?
yes, of course, we would have liked to have more participation. But out of 277, there were only 83 employees who did respond to the non-management survey.
Cool.
The employees were sent out the information. They were giving multiple reminders to complete the survey, but this does not give us the accurate full picture of how everyone feels with them not responding as asked.
And Director Edminster, if I may add, we are hopeful that because we are beginning to make changes and take action based on some of the initial key findings, that hopefully this will allow the employees to feel like their voice is being heard and
Mhm.
that things that they're saying are making a difference and that we do hear them. And so we're hopeful that when we do this reassessment, that we'll begin to get more participation because employees will feel like, again, that they can weigh in and have input on the change in culture within our organization.
And then also just to sort of add to the conversation a little bit, I've always been fond of a concept called asset-based community development, which looks at the things that we do have, not at the things that we don't. And I'm really surprised, and maybe not surprised, but really, keen on the things that we're doing really well, including, giving folks the tools they need to be successful, and the fact that so many people find that the job at Chatham Area Transit meaningful. I think that's a fantastic place to start. We've got a lot of work to do, but that's a good place to start.
That is certainly a win. That's certainly
Yeah.
a win.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, this is just establishing a baseline. Knowing where we are is a big part of knowing where we're going and how we need to get there. So all is not lost. We think that this presents a tremendous opportunity for us to put some things in motion to galvanize the organization, unify the organization, and have some quick wins very soon.
And no doubt, the sooner you implement the trainings, the quicker it will turn around. A lot of it just needs to be with the training, and I know that that's already an ongoing initiative.
All right. Are there any more questions for Aspire Workplace Solutions?
I have one or two, just more comments than questions.
Sure.
I know there's some areas where we need to improve from what I've seen here, but most of this is based on previous management. I'm hoping going forward, and when we have our review again in 2021, that some of the people in the new positions, including our new CEO, are going to be working on these ideals. I know APTA is very strong about the diversity and inclusion, and I'm glad it isn't everything that's bad. We should work on the good and work to improve what we feel are lacking. And there was a lot of undecided where there were neither. So there's a lot of people that can be quickly brought into the fold just by very simple things. So
Absolutely.
I'm not depressed about what I'm seeing. I'm excited that we can make improvements, and most of them are not dramatic. So
Yes.
let's see how we do over the next year. Thank
You're
you.
absolutely right. You're welcome. You're absolutely right. There is definitely room for improvement. All is not lost. I just think right now, the staff just need to develop the feeling of trust in the organization.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all again I'm sorry, did someone say they had questions? Did I miss? Okay. Well, thank you, Aspire, for your work, and we will definitely take these findings under advisement. We're already working on some responses to key findings and implementing some things to assist with that. So I think that the board should,
I'm sorry, I'm waving and I don't know, I don't want to just
Oh,
interrupt.
sorry.
I had two really fast questions. Were any of the board members surveyed?
No, this survey was
Strictly from employees.
strictly from the employee standpoint. So
Then I would actually like to see that question asked as to how the employees feel the board is handling what's going on. I think we need to be held accountable as well. We make a lot of the major decisions that can create some of the controversy, and I would welcome their feedback.
very good. Duly noted.
And we would consider the board members, although we didn't put that specifically, but upper management, it would kind of, include the board members.
All right. Very good observation. We definitely do have some things in mind to unify or to engage the board and the employees, and for all of us to work more closely together as one team. So we got some things up our sleeve and look forward to seeing the results from that.
Well, thank you so much again for allowing us to do this, and we look forward to your progress. And I know that it's gonna soar quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, with that being said, I think the chairman already introduced the second item under the presentations. But before we have our chief operating officer give the presentation on the scheduled service changes, I actually have an announcement to make, which is, we worked late into the evening last night talking to some very key people in the community. The board hears over and over again about our SCORE plan for how we're working to score in the hearts and minds of Chatham County. And a big part of that is listening to the community. The C in SCORE is caring for our employees, our customers, and our community. And so in order to live up to that promise, it's really important for us to listen to the community and for us to be able to engage in collaboration and in dialogue with that community. And so we have heard from the community with regard to some of the changes that we're proposing. And we feel like there's additional conversation that needs to be had. There are people that are willing to come to the table with us and sit down and talk about what we need to be able to operate. And we want to talk to them about what we need to do to be able to serve them efficiently. And so we are actually going to delay our proposed fall service change. We're going to delay it for about 90 days with the intention of sitting down with key leaders in the community to talk more seriously about how we can all work together collaboratively, how we can better fund our service, and how we can just all efficiently work together. I think that this experience is actually, it's actually a new day for Chatham Area Transit, a day of collaborative involvement in the community. It was one of our goals to always be not just an entity that provides bus service or ferry service, but we want to be one of the threads interwoven into the community. And I think that this delay in our service changes, we hope that the community will see this as a big step forward in doing that. We are still going to go ahead and have Mr. Cooksey present the proposed service changes, but we will also still have the public hearing, because we do feel it's still very important for the public to continue to have their say and to be heard. Public engagement is something that is a required part of any service change that we roll out. So we will again move forward with the presentation, but please note that the proposed changes won't go into effect for at least 90 days, if at all, pending the collaborative discussions that we had. And I just have to give a quick shout out to Mr. Michael Owens and of the Tourism Leadership Council. Bill Hubbard with the Chamber was very active, as well as Mike Backer. They were all very, very instrumental and very helpful to us in making sure that we're engaging the right folks, and they're helping us continue to spread our wings in the community. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cooksey so that he can go ahead and go over the proposed service changes.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board of Directors, and Ms. Malden. We will talk about those particular changes to kind of give you an idea. On this first slide, in reference to our core services, this is our existing revenue hours. So, and these numbers were based on $122 per hour cost to run fixed route, and they include wages, fuel, maintenance, and administrative costs. Go to the next slide. So optimizing that particular current service levels. This is our proposed revenue hours, and it really reflects really our November 2020 projections. Of course, again, piggybacking on what Ms. Malden said, we will delay that for 90 days out. But the new changes, we're looking at 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Service hours. We're also looking at a reduction of peak vehicles from 36 to 34, and a total reduction of revenue hours of 1771.23. And initially, our thought was we would do our deep cleaning on those particular days that we were not going to be in service. So we will continue to do that and find ways to continue to do the cleaning that we're currently doing now. On to the next slide. So this is our proposed service frequency. Again, you know, some of the benefits of this particular proposal was additional frequency on, like, say, the Abercorn, 14 to 17. Again, we will hold on this particular service run and just kind of continue what we're doing now. And I'm open for any questions, you know, in reference to what was proposed, you know, that's on hold right now and for the next 90 days.
Okay, and with that, we'll actually turn it back over to Mr. Chairman, or for any of the members that have questions. And then I guess we'll go into a period of public comment on the service, on the proposed service changes.
I have one that's not necessarily about the service changes. The board had established 2 committees to work with in the community, and we basically have let that fall off the map. And I've been on the board 3.5 years, and that hasn't been filled. And I think the board has to seriously look at reestablishing those committees to bring more people in, like the Chamber of Commerce and the Tourism Council, to get suggestions and be there and hear their opinions. We don't normally reach out very far, but you know, that's our fault. We let that system decline, and I think it needs to be started up, and hopefully by the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we are actually putting our advisory committees back at work. Dr. O'Halloran, we are putting those committees back together as a stakeholder advisory committee, as well as the ADA advisory committee. And one of the things that the board did challenge me to do when I started was to really get out and get active in the community. And I think because of those efforts, I've been able to, you know, we've been able to enjoy a pretty good relationship with the Tourism Leadership Council, as well as other groups through the community. And we're going to continue to work on that and continue to try to do our part so that we can expand our reach. I think, you know, everything works better if we're all at the table together. Any other comments from the board before I turn it back over to the chair for the public hearing?
Yeah, I would just like to echo the comment you made earlier, Ms. Malden, about this is kind of a new leaf, new road, whatever analogy we want to use. This level of involvement in route design and route orientation is great, and I think we should absolutely hold on to this energy and run with it as much as possible. There's a lot of goals that Chatham Area Transit wants to reach that I would imagine fit in extremely nicely with the restaurant and hospitality industry's, you know, desire for a more robust and more resilient workforce. It's always been a challenge here in Chatham County, and getting people to their jobs on time is a big part of what we do and a big part of what these industries need. So I'm very interested, especially as chair of the Outreach and Stakeholder Committee, of finding ways that we can continue keeping these parties involved and maintain those good relationships. Yeah, that's basically all. I want to discuss more with this with you, but board meeting isn't, you know, we don't need to take up all that time.
Understood. I look forward to continuing that dialogue with you.
And then the last thing too is that you know, it's key. It's really good that we're hearing this from the associations, from the TLC, from these large groups. But over the last couple of weeks, especially as we've been discussing this more. I've talked to individual bus riders and individual hospitality workers, and they were very concerned. So I was going to be pushing hard on Sunday service one way or the other. So I was really relieved to see that that was already taken care of.
We're all in this together.
Very cool.
All right.
All right.
Where is everybody?
Thank you all. Thank you for those presentations. Now we are going to move on to the public hearing section of the agenda. I am Deidre Cody. Excuse me. I'm Deidre Cody, the chairman of CAT Board of Directors. On behalf of the CAT Board of Directors and staff, we come to you today to share CAT's ongoing commitment to meet the changes in rider needs and response to challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Chatham Area Transit is proposing several changes in the first quarter of the calendar year for 2021 instead of the original changes in the first quarter of the instead of the original notice on November the 2nd. Due to state emergency declared by the governor of Georgia, public health concerns created by the COVID-19 pandemic and the safety and well-being of our community, this budget hearing is being held virtually. The CAT board and staff, when making the final decision on the proposed service changes and modifications, will consider comments received today, along with comments made by email and voicemail in regards to the service modifications presented earlier. Individuals wishing to provide written comments during the hearing may post their comments using the option of the Zoom chat box by emailing your comments to meeting@catchacat.org or by US mail to cat@900 East Gwinnett Street. Attention made to the Board of Directors. Persons desiring to provide verbal comments today about the proposed service modifications may call by leaving a voicemail at 912-651-0452 or during today's meeting once the line is open for public comment. Additional details of the proposed service schedule changes will be available for review on CAT's website at catchacat.org/schedules. At this time, we will open the hearing up to the public comment portion of today's board meeting. We look forward to receiving your feedback in regards to today's proposed service changes, and you can now do so by calling area code 929-205-6099 and then entering meeting ID 858-3989-6020. Beverly, while we are waiting on today's participants to dial in, please announce any comments that we may have received via chat box and email. We will read those comments first into the minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, sir. And for our speakers and our guests today, if you will hit *9 to raise your hand, if you would like to speak, we will call on you shortly. Mr. Curl, are you able to see if there's anything in the in our Outlook account?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, we do not have any messages. If they would like to send one again, they just send meeting@catchacat.org.
Thank you, sir. And can you call out the dial-in number again? If you have it in front of you, Mr. Curl.
I do. 1 second. It's 929-205-6099. And this is on the website as well. If they go to our homepage, there's a slideshow, and the first slide will direct you to this information.
Thank you.
Number
sir.
again is 929-205-6099. The meeting ID is 858-3989 6020. And I think it's on the agenda if you want to put that up on the screen, the phone number.
Thank you. And if we have any callers that's online with us now, please use *9 to raise your hand.
Right.
Okay. Chairman Cody, I'm just going to display the phone number on the screen.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if you give me one moment.
All right. Got him.
Okay.
All right.
I have the phone number here, and I do not. Okay, we do have one comment. I'm gonna.
All right. All right. Before we unmute the callers.
Chairman, one moment.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, you can go ahead, Chairman. I'm sorry.
All right. Before we unmute the callers for public comment, I ask that if you do not have a comment related to the proposed fixed route service changes, to please self-mute your phone or microphones so that we can engage respectfully with our speakers. If you are speaking, please make sure you turn off your TVs, radios to eliminate any background noises that could interfere with the full board being able to hear you. Please state your name, and we ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes. Hearing none, no other comments, we will not close.
Chairman, so
Michael
we do
Owens.
have.
We unmute.
Join the meeting.
Chairman, we do have caller 3241.
Uh-huh.
If you would go ahead and unmute yourself, sir. Ma'am.
Hello.
Hello, the floor is yours. for
Hey, how
public
y'all
comment.
doing?
Good, thank you.
Yes, I am a bus operator for Chatham Area Transit, and I just pertaining to the bus schedule changes. I just feel like better communication from management on down to those that are not management. I feel like it should be a better communication, because not only do it affect our customers' everyday life, it also affects our lives when changes are just being made, and we rearrange our whole schedules around so that we could come do our job and also do what we have to do, outside of the job. So it's the communication with us is lack there, in my opinion, because getting these last minute notices and stuff like that about the job, it really do put an impact on our lives, I feel. Like we're not, like we just the last to know, but we're the ones out there operating these buses and getting customers where they need to be. So, basically that's what I wanted to say. If the communication is more with us, on a timely manner, so we could take care of what we have to outside of the job, so that we could, our performance could be spectacular for Chatham Area Transit, but it just coming at us and it just being last minute changes, and we done changed our whole schedules around and stuff. It really kind of do impact us, not only just the customers. So I just wanted to voice my opinion on that, because I'm just like finding this out today, So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Thank you, ma'am. The board will take your comment into consideration. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones,
Okay, we're moving on to the next.
this is Commissioner Jones, Jay Jones.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Can we get a layout of how communication would be transpired from, I guess, upper management all the way to this scenario that just was spoken of by the operator? And I don't care who answers. I just need somebody to answer it.
Well, actually, and this is probably, and thank you for your question, Commissioner Jones. We actually, because this was a late breaking event where we decided to hold off or delay the service rollout, I can honestly tell you we were working until the evening trying to come up with the best solution. Our goal every day, first and foremost, is to make sure we're offering the best service possible to the customers. So with regard to communication, once the decision was made at the upper management level, we contacted upper management. Upper management in turn contacted the labor union representatives, and the union representatives would go through their normal communication mechanism. I can't really speak to what happens once it gets to that level, but we did make every effort to communicate in writing as well as via phone call with our upper management to ensure that everyone knew what was going on, that we were on the same page. We also sent an email out to the board last night as well, as we were as the decisions were being made. A joint press release is actually scheduled to be released as far as public notification at the conclusion of this board meeting, where the Tourism Leadership Council, the Savannah Chamber, and the restaurateurs have all offered to be a part of a joint press release with us as well. So that was kind of internal and external. So.
And so I guess my follow-up question would be, not to belabor the situation, but my follow-up question would be,
aren't we in public session? Did we close that yet?
We are still opening.
And then I think we should finish hearing from the public before the board starts with extra commentary. They're respectful of their position.
Well, my commentary is to incite as far as getting clarity as far as the process within what she just spoke of, sir. And if they're in disagreement with that, then I have no problem falling back. But my question was elaborate on what her saying, what she said, and I needed a clear, transparent position of where we stand all the way down to where she stands. And so I think my question was in line with whatever commentary we're going through. But I'll reserve all my comments to the end of the conversation. No problem.
Okay, Chairman, I would go on to the next speaker. Speaker, you can unmute. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Michael Owens with the Tourism Leadership Council. Would like to thank the board for the discussion this morning about putting off the suspension of services on Sunday. We are certainly in recovery mode as a economic sector within our community. Tourism and hospitality provides 28,000 careers. That's 1 in 7 jobs in our community. We have been devastated, like so many others, by the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. To give you a statistic, our occupancy in the county in the month of April was 6%. 6%. By June of this year, 91% of all of the layoffs, furloughs, and unemployment claims were from our sector, representing lodging, restaurants, so forth. As we are clawing back slowly to some sense of recovery that will take years, Friday and Saturdays are our busiest days, and meaning Sunday mornings are critical. And to our frontline staff, that's our housekeepers, our
A lot of the room right here, dustpan and Nate, get this up. What's the problem?
Can we ask all participants to mute themselves, please?
I don't know if I'm still.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Owens. You can continue.
No problem. Sundays is the best day in the industry right now, especially for the individual incomes of our workforce. That's the biggest tips, the envelopes left in the room, and them getting to work and being able to report to work on time on a Sunday so they can collect a significant amount of dollars in tips, especially compared to the last couple of months, is extremely important. Most importantly, in my comments, I want to very publicly applaud Bakara Malden, who I was working with late into the night last night, with lots of dialogue back and forth. We were able, at her prompting, to put a survey in the field where we received tremendous response from folks not just in our industries but also the hospitals about how crucial this Sunday services are. I have to tell you, I've been in this position for eight years. Actions speak louder than words, and Ms. Malden and I met over 2 months ago when she first came to this community, and she said she was going to be involved in the community. I've heard that song and dance before. She did it. She was available well into the late hours of last night. That's never happened before. It is extraordinary that so early on in her tenure, we feel like we have not just a CEO of CAP, but a true community partner who is listening to the needs of this community, especially the people in our community who needs these services the most. We are looking forward to the next 90 days of coming together in a collaborative manner and figuring out how we can help with this shortfall, what creative things we can come up with so we can continue this crucial community service. But I have to, again, just say what a breath of fresh air Bakara has already been to our community. I appreciate CAT's willingness to put this suspension off for at least 90 days and allow for collaboration to happen. I think that CAT and be applauded for that. You create a crucial service. The last thing I will say is this potential suspension of service has created a really wonderful opportunity for CAT, because folks who did not understand the importance of transit and public transportation before, they certainly understand now. We recognize how important things are right when they might be taken away from us. So this is a great opportunity for CAT to continue to engage, and in fact, engage even further into the community. And let's talk about how our whole community supports CAT, not just some of the community, but how all of us can come together and use this as an opportunity to build the best CAT we can that will serve every person in our community, whether a business owner, a rider, it doesn't matter. We all need public transportation. And I hope that CAT takes that opportunity as it appears that it will.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes, go ahead, Clinton.
Mr. Owens, thank you. Thank you very much. We got the email update from Bakara last night with notification that you guys have been working late into this. And I don't know if you had heard what I said before, so I'm going to repeat it for you real quick. Is that yes, what you said, the ending statement about this kind of being how people know how much transit is necessary and needed and critical for workforce development, especially for hospitality. If you didn't know that before, you definitely know that now. And so I can say, at least for myself, that I'm very committed to making sure that we take this opportunity of collaboration and play it out as long as we can for an extremely healthy relationship between all the industries here. in Chatham County, and let this just be day 0 on hopefully an extremely long and robust conversation to help us all out. So I'm glad y'all were able to work this together because it's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, if we have any other speakers, please press *9.
And while they're coming in, I want to echo the sentiments of my other fellow board member and say appreciate you, Mike, for speaking up and speaking on behalf of the working community and those people downtown.
Thank you. Mr. Curl, do you see any written comments?
No, I do not.
Okay, Chairman, I turn it back over to you.
Hearing none and no other comments, we will now close the public hearing section and comments.
Join the meeting.
On today's service changes. Moving on to other business on the agenda, we will move right along to the consent agenda. Today, we have 14 items listed for action on the consent agenda, which may be received and approved by the board in single motion. If any member wishes to discuss an item on consent, please request that the item be pulled for further discussion and potential action. Being in receipt of Ms. Molden's email on yesterday, she has requested that item number 11, amended budget adoption calendar, be removed from the consent agenda from any action until January of 2021. This will now leave us with 13 items for consent. I want to ask Ty. Ty, you there?
I am here, yes, sir.
All right, I want to see what is our next move for this? Is this something we vote on?
You mean for removal of that item from the agenda?
Yes.
Well, there are two alternatives. You can have a motion to table, which would require a second and a simple majority to table it, to bring it back up at the next regular meeting. Or alternatively, since the chairman sets the agenda, the chairman can actually remove an item from the agenda without objection.
Okay, I have a question. If we're removing the amended budget calendar, are we still having the budget meeting in November, the workshop?
I'm going to recommend that the workshop be canceled.
Have regular committee meetings. Can we post the consent agenda? Because I printed it yesterday and I don't have the current one. I thought the Kinder Morgan was going to be removed.
Why is Kinder Morgan being removed?
I don't know. I got an email about that last night.
It's just being removed so that we can have a staff member explain it to the board.
So that's going to go to action item?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we're not going to talk, okay, so when are we going to talk about, I want to know about finances to get us through the rest of the year. When does that come up?
Okay, we will be offering a financial report as a regular part of the agenda. We will continue to provide the financial update each month during the discussion in our committee meetings as well as at our monthly board meetings.
But the new budget was going to go over the new jobs and descriptions that we were supposed to have the discussion on, right?
The amended budget that was had on the agenda was actually slated to talk about the adjustment in revenues. It did also feature the phase 1 of the restructure. Yes, it did.
Okay, so are you bringing the phase 1 of the restructure back to the agenda?
I don't have an answer for that at this time. We are pulling the item based on the delay of the service changes. Those service changes were figured into the calculations, which are the foundation of the amended budget. And so at this time, we feel like it's best to see if we will have additional revenue to include in the budget before we bring it back to the board for consideration. To ask you to do otherwise would be asking the board to consider something that really isn't applicable anymore.
So does that mean you're holding the reorganizational changes as well?
No, we're still within the budget that was adopted back in June.
Okay, then I want that portion put somewhere. If we're not going to do the portion that goes over what's going to be happening between now and December 31st, which is staff changes, reorganizational changes, structure in addition and declining job positions, that needs to be addressed.
Yes, ma'am.
And just to be clear on the consent agenda, we've taken 11 off completely. That's been tabled till January because it still has the amended budget adoption on there.
I want to call for a motion on that amended budget to remove the number 11 from the consent agenda.
So moved. I don't think you need a vote on that. I think you can just do that, Cody.
Yeah, Cody, you can just remove it.
All right, let's remove that from the consent agenda item number 11.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other members want to pull any other items for board discussion?
On just the consent agenda?
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion. We accept and approve the consent agenda items as listed with the removal of number 11.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Would you like for me to go into roll call vote?
Yes.
Just open for discussion, then we can vote.
Not on it. Yes, sir. Do we
Traditionally
have
on consent agenda, you don't have discussion. That's why you will pull it off the consent agenda.
No, not on that. I mean, we have a motion and a second. It has to open for discussion next. If there's no discussion, then we go to vote.
Not necessarily on the consent agenda, because any discussion would have been to pull it off the consent agenda for us to vote on it separately. But if you want to do that for discussion, we can. It's not a quorum. Cody, it's on you to open up a discussion, as Mike is trying to allude to.
All right, do we want to move to open up a discussion?
All right,
Mike?
then just go to your roll call.
All right, let's do roll call, Beverly.
Okay, yes, sir. Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
and Chairman, just for the record, Director Lakakis asked that we just excuse him today. He was under the weather.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Emister,
Yes.
Director O'Halloran,
Yes.
Director Jones,
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Chairman Cody, you have a unanimous?
All right, motion passed. All right, so we're gonna move on down to action items. Excuse me, sound like I'm a little under the weather. We have question number of items on for additional board action. I turn this item over to Ms. Malden so she can introduce the items to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first action item is the Kinder Morgan tax settlement with the Chatham County Tax Office. And I've actually asked our consultant, I'm sorry, Jeray Williams, to handle that item. Ms. Williams?
Good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Director. Kinder Morgan, which is one of the county's largest taxpayers, disputed their property values from 2002 to 2019. And so the Chatham County Board of Commissioners decided a couple weeks ago to approve a settlement payment to return a portion of the taxes that they appealed. So the total liability to CAT is $100,000, $100,400.75. Chatham County has asked that we make this payment to them so they can send one consolidated payment from CAT, the school board, and the county to Kinder Morgan to settle this debt.
I'll make a motion to approve that we make the payment.
Second.
I second. Oh,
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
All right.
I'll go ahead and do the roll call vote.
Call for roll call, yes.
Okay,
I've got a question, but I'm not sure if it's too late. Sorry.
no, it's not. I'm sorry.
It's not too late. This is the time we're supposed to be asking questions.
Well, then this is a really question for one of the commissioners. How much did if we're paying 100,000, how much does the Chatham County need to pay back? I remember when this came up a while ago.
So the total amount, I'll answer that question, Director Edminster. The total amount was $170,000 for the payment that was settled. They only allow statutorily you to go back for 7 years. So we're only really paying from 2013 to 2019. So I did validate the county's calculations. Linda Kramer sent me the spreadsheet and the breakout between the three entities of what was owed. The millage rate changes over the course of that time period. And so the $100,000 payment is validated that CAT owes.
And this is for the properties on Elba Island?
I'm not sure of the location of where Kinder Morgan is. Okay, well then, yes, that would be correct.
All right. Exciting. And unfortunate. But thank you.
All right. All right, we want to call for a proper motion in a second.
Okay, Chairman, we have a motion was made by Chairman, I'm sorry, by Director O'Halloran and seconded by Director Stone.
Gotcha.
If there's no other discussion, I'll go ahead and call for the roll call vote.
Roll call. Thank you.
Okay. Director Odell,
yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Robinson. Yes, okay, she's giving us thumbs up, thank you. Director Lakakis is not present today. Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Edminster,
Yes.
Director O'Halloran,
Yes.
Director Jones,
Yes.
Chairman Cody.
Yes,
Unanimous, sir. 8-0, thank you.
motion passed.
I have a quick point of order. Can we get a motion to excuse Director Lakakis from today's meeting?
I second it.
I agree.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And we can do a vote on there.
Next
Director.
action.
Hope he's doing better. He's had some health issues.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you for doing that. Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
I'm sorry, I was distracted. What am I being asked?
this is to excuse Director Lakakis from today's meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Emister,
Yes.
Director O'Halloran,
Yes.
Director Jones,
Yes.
Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Action item. Ms. Mulder.
I would like to make a motion to table this next item.
Second.
Okay. Okay, and
Leggy,
Chairman,
you
the
have the
next-
call for the question.
Chairman, the next item that is being requested to be tabled is the award of general legal service contract.
Right.
Would you like to open the floor
Yes.
for discussion? Oh, there's no discussion during the table. So roll call vote.
Call for roll call.
Director, okay, Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
I'm sorry, you have to update me again.
okay, yes, ma'am. We are on the General Legal Counsel Contract Award.
Mm-hmm.
The motion is to table this item.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Let me make some mutes. 1 moment.
Need to mute.
Did we get Dr. Robinson?
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Okay. Director
Dr.
Leggett?
Robinson, wait just a second. Point of order. Was that an answer for saying Dr. Robinson? Or was that an answer for the vote? We not. I told y'all about that. We got to make sure we clarify it.
My vote was yes.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Okay, Director Leggett?
Yes.
Director Emister?
Clinton, you there?
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. Yes.
Director O'Halloran?
Yes.
Director Jones?
No.
Chairman Cody?
Yes.
Chairman Cody, motion passed. 8-1 opposed.
All right.
Motion passed 7-1 opposed.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Vice
problem.
Chair. 7-1 opposed. Thank you.
All right. We're gonna move to executive director's update and department updates. All right, then we have moved on from items of action and moving right along to the executive director's report and unit updates. Ms. Malden, I'll turn the floor over to you and staff to proceed with the remaining reports.
You're muted. You're mute.
Let's start this all over again. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So give me just a second. I sincerely apologize for the delay. Now, all right. Can you hear me now? Hopefully so. It was with great pleasure that I present the Executive Director's Report for October 2020. And of course, the highlight of that report is the fact that we have reached the milestone of the first 100 days as the CEO and Executive Director of Chatham Area Transit. We have had many experiences, had the opportunity to meet many people, talked to numerous employees, participated in many activities. It has been quite an eventful 100 days. Every time I've had a speaking engagement, I've always ended it saying that it was quite an interesting time to take the helm of an organization, but it is always a great day to catch a cat, and we still believe that to be the case. Now, of course, this next slide kind of describes what the first 100 days was really, truly like. There's some days that it has been as steady and meticulous as the tick, tick, tick that you hear when you're going up the incline of the roller coaster. There's always time every now and then to stop at the top and kind of look around and survey the landscape. And then, of course, there are days where you get the rush of going over that incline into the full throttle of the roller coaster. And so we've loved every moment of it, even in the difficult times. It's been a challenge that I've truly embraced. And I have enjoyed getting to know the employees, getting to know each of you, and getting to know the Chatham County community. So the onboarding strategy for the first 100 days was really to introduce myself to all of you, to introduce myself to the employees, to introduce myself to the community, to introduce myself to the riders and to our customers. In addition to the introductions, it was to assess where our operational strengths are, assess where our operational weaknesses are, and all of our opportunities as well as threats. During next month's board meeting, I actually plan on sharing my SWOT analysis with you. And so we look forward to sharing that again during next month's report. And then, of course, there were some things that I absolutely had to address. I had to take the bulls by the horn, and I had to address some things that really some of them were unexpected issues.
Hey, Ms. Evans.
But we are very, very happy to have been able to address those. So during, of course, the 100, the key activities included addressing cash flow, dealing with the CARES Act crisis. And as you know, we got our CARES Act funding back in August, and we were able to get that turned around in record time due to the diligence of our staff, due to being able to make some calls to our partners at FTA. We were very pleased with the turnaround time with our CARES Act. We were able to address the cash flow by at least understanding what our cash flow is and putting mechanisms in place in order to ensure that we have the cash flow that we need to operate. We had to drill down on the cost of doing business. Now, I know that that may be a given to some, but unfortunately, sometimes when you have institutional knowledge walk out the door, in some respects, you have to start over again. And so instead of seeing this as a bad thing, we embraced it as an opportunity to really drill down on the cost of doing business and find out where we can do things differently, how we can do things better. And as I mentioned, we did have some institutional knowledge leave the agency, and so we had to fill some key leadership roles. We had to address some key position gaps. There were some key functions that weren't being filled that led to some of our operational and administrative efficiencies that we encountered. We worked hard to work on our union relations. And I believe that our union relationship actually is something that can be modeled throughout the country. I've had the opportunity to be in a lot of situations. I even started my professional career working with a union. So I definitely honor and respect the role that organized labor plays in the workforce. I've been at other agencies, and the relationship that we enjoy with our union here is not a given at every agency. And so we're very proud of the work that we have done with our union partners to try to take steps towards making Chatham Area Transit the best place to work. We created processes and policies where deficient. We revised policies. I know you all have probably been on policy overload. David Stearns and the compliance and policy team has been working in overdrive, just trying to make sure that we blow the dust off of all of our key policies so that when it's time for that triennial review, we are ready and we don't have to really go scrambling just because the review is scheduled. You heard the results of our diversity and inclusion assessment. And of course, we do have a lot of things to work on, but we've already taken the bull by the horns, and we're already working to try to make our culture and our climate better. In fact, we have employee training scheduled for early in November already to address those. And then, of course, I've worked hard to get to know CAT, to work to understand our routes, to work to understand our employees. We still have open door meetings that are coming up, and I'll talk more about that later. And to get to know our customers, our employees, and the community. Working very hard, engaging with organizations in the community, just to be sure that CAT is not just an operator of bus and ferry service. Again, we believe that it's important to be one of the threads that's interwoven in our community. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not talk about how we continue to score. So every month, of course, my reports are given in the form of our monthly scorecard. So starting with S, which is stabilize and strengthen agency finances, we have refined our financial management processes. I'd like to mention that Janice Ambrose actually is kind of transitioning. She's going to continue doing what she was doing as a senior accountant, but she's transitioning into more of a budget manager. The things that we do are going to be all with the budget in mind, and in her role, she'll be working with all of our leadership and all of our managers to ensure that our departmental budgets stay in line. We're finalizing the audit in terms of working with Maldens and Jenkins, and we expect them to be making a presentation to the board very soon. Due to our work with Ms. Williams and Ray Michelle, we've got new calculation tools that help us drill down and know exactly how much it costs to run our organization. under the leadership of Bryn Dice, we're submitting more grants. We have 2 grants that are being submitted this quarter. One, we actually hit the submit button on last night, probably at about 11 p.m. And then there's another one that's coming up that's due on November 2nd. And then, of course, we're working with area agencies and with our partners at the FTA to identify additional funding sources, as well as the community. And you heard a little bit more about sitting to the table and talking with our partners in the business community to also talk about additional funding. I think a part of that is posturing ourselves so that we can educate the community about how much it actually does cost to run our service. And we're really happy that we're now in a posture and in a position to really be able to have thoughtful conversation about that. The C, which is care for employees, customers, and community. Nothing But Cakes came in and recognized our employees as essential workers. And so we were pleased to greet them, and they actually brought more than 300 bundt cakes to our facility so that every employee could get one. We really appreciate our partnerships with businesses in the community and wanted to be able to give them a huge shout out because we really want to support the people that support us. During the month of October, we introduced Spirit Fridays, where the first Friday we recognized our favorite high school teams. The second Friday, we recognized our favorite college teams. And the third Friday, we recognized our favorite professional teams, be it football, soccer, whatever your favorite professional team is. And of course, anyone that knows me knows that I'm going to be representing the New Orleans Saints because that's my pro football team of choice. This Friday, we're encouraging everyone to wear their cat gear or wear green. We're going to celebrate the best of what CAT is about. And so we're looking forward to doing that. We've gotten great feedback. We've gotten great feedback from our employees about Spirit Friday, and so we're really excited about that. We join with the rest of the nation on Wednesdays in increasing breast cancer awareness. We are very, we feel like cancer, of course, needs to have awareness. We have employees that unfortunately have dealt with this. We have loved ones that have dealt with this. And so it's a cause that we take to heart. And so on Wednesdays, we encourage our employees to dress in pink to bring awareness to breast cancer and the need for a cure. I don't know why I have Spirit Fridays on that slide twice, but I apologize for that. Yesterday, we had a bus shield installation event where the media came to our CAT Central facility, and we were happy to share with them the news about our bus shield installation. This is just another way that we have invested in the safety and welfare of our employees and of our customers. The O is optimizing operations. We welcomed our new Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Lenny Cooksey. We are looking at the service optimization, and although it is being delayed for 90 days, it still presents an opportunity for us to look at how we can offer the right service at the right times in the right amount. We also welcome the new Chief Safety Officer in Charles Hall, and he is really rolling up his sleeve along with the team and working on a safety plan that will help elevate the safety conversation within our organization so that we can truly run a safe and efficient organization and agency. There's more of a shift on policy and processes, not harping on the problems that people see, but coming up with ways to address those problems. And then, of course, we're shifting more towards a data-driven operation, trying to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to address on-time performance and letting the data guide our decisions. And of course, the R is for reimagine transit in Chatham County. We're going in a new strategic direction. And as we spoke earlier within this meeting, there's elevated conversations about transit and what it truly means here in Chatham County. We had the opportunity to meet and present to the Garden City Council, and we're very hopeful about the opportunity to see how transit can make a difference for that city. But that's not the only one. There are other expansion opportunities that we're working on as well. And then of course, E, we're engaging the board, employees, as well as stakeholders. There was a board survey that was sent out last month by Beverly. We did not get 100% participation, and I'm going to ask her to resend it out in hopes that you all will give me your feedback. On Thursday, we're going to have the second installment of Open Door Thursdays, and that is once a month. Any employee can come to my office and have a 10-minute meeting with me to talk about anything. Now, of course, this does not circumvent the chain of command, but this is just another way that we as management want to make ourselves available to the employees to hear their concerns and address them. We're continuing our employee town halls, although in November, we will start to do them twice a month as opposed to every week. And we're doing this in an effort to make the conversation during those town hall meetings a bit more robust. We want to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the employees and answering their questions. And so we're going to spread it out and go to a slightly different format. There were some notable meetings that took place over the last month since we last spoke. I met with Ms. Earlene Davis with the Housing Authority. I had the opportunity to meet via Zoom with Dr. Levette with the school system. I've met with many county commission candidates, and I think we've done a good job of putting transit as a catalyst item for this election cycle. I even had the opportunity to share a thank you note or a note with a commission candidate, inviting them to come to our town, well, not to our town hall, but to our CAT Central office after he made some kind of critical comments. It's not always easy to hear people that don't like what you're doing, because of course we love offering mobility options to Chatham County. But we did invite that candidate, win or lose, to come check us out at CAT Central and learn more about the hard work that the men and women of Chatham Area Transit do every day. We met with Representative Carl Gilliard, and we also met with Trip Tollison with CETA. And we actually have a meeting this afternoon with him where our team is going to go over and learn more about the development that's on the rise within our organization. So of course, we believe that where public transportation goes, communities do grow. And we look forward to continuing again to serve as the thread that is interwoven throughout the Chatham County community. I'll answer any questions that you may have about this part, and after that, we'll turn it over to the various department heads as I call on them for the departmental updates.
I just have one question. Have you been in contact with the State Chamber of Commerce? I know we opened up some dialogues with them about a year ago, and it kind of got pushed aside with all the changes. But I would reach out to them. They have, especially with the improvements coming to the convention center, they're going to be a principal in all of the activities there. So that would be a good choice to catch up with them. And I can't remember his name, but he's a very active and excitable guy. So he's got some great ideas. So that would be a good contact.
Great. Well, we look forward to engaging with them. I have not yet, but I will definitely add it to my list and work down that list as quickly as we can. So
thank you.
Definitely open to it. Thank you. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm actually going to turn it over to Lenny Cooksey for a brief service delivery update, followed by Nikki Frenny, who will give our communications and marketing update, followed by David Stearns, who will give our administrative services update, and then finally Gloria Royal will give our financial update.
Okay, thank you. Board of Directors, the service delivery update is in your board packet, so I'm open to answer any questions about that. But I also wanted to kind of piggyback again off Ms. Malden to let you know that the bus barriers or the bus shields for the fixed route buses will be completely installed by October 30th. And as far as paratransit, all of those have been completed. We're also looking at receiving our electric buses by the end of January, 1st of February. There was a delay on that. Though the wildfires in California impacted the battery factory. So what happened is they had stopped production on those batteries, so it kind of pushed everything back. But as more information is released, we'll definitely keep you updated on that. And that concludes my service delivery update, and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cooksey. I've got a question, more of a request if it's not too difficult. I'd be interested in looking at, especially as we talk more about service reduction, some information assembled so that I could see how many people are riding the bus on any given weekday or day. So like how many people are riding on Monday versus how many people are riding on Saturday or Sunday currently with the stuff we've got right now. I think something we've been looking at, I've got information already that you guys have assembled on service hours and cost to compare weekday and weekends. But I always know that like service hours and how many people are reusing that may be different. So if it's not too difficult to put that information together, I think that would be helpful, over the course of a month.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yes, we can get that taken care of.
And then this might be let me just throw in one more thing. I'm not really sure when to throw it in, but I figured if we're talking about operations, this might not be a bad time. It's also got financial impact. When I was talking with some of the folks about Sunday service over the last couple of weeks, one comment that I heard a couple times, but definitely not from everybody, was some of our riders believe that we should bring back the fare as soon as we can. I thought it was interesting what they thought about that, and I'll just bring it up here. We have some riders that want us to bring back the fare to our buses to make sure that people that do need it have access to it now. And some of their comments let me know that there are folks riding the bus that may not need to be riding it right now, but since it is free, they do use it. And so I think we definitely have some, I'm not sure, are we still planning on going back to paid service in December or later?
Yes, that's correct. I think the first step in that process was to get all of the bus shields or the barriers in place, being that will be completed by the end of the week. Shortly thereafter, we'll move forward with, instituting those fares and letting the public know.
Well, then I feel like we've got a really interesting opportunity to analyze what fare free has or how fare free impacts our ridership. Because really for the first time in CAT's history, we've been fare free for like a couple of months. And yes, we're in a pandemic, and we'd have to calculate for that. But I would say any information and all the information we can get to try to assess if that's something we want to pursue later or not, and how that impacts our ridership. I'd be interested in seeing as much about that as we can.
Sure, absolutely. I made a note of that.
And I have a follow-up, certainly connected to what Clinton was saying. And that is in looking at this Sunday ridership, and all of a sudden you heard from the community that it was going to be a problem. We need to be a little more proactive in looking at the ridership data. I mean, obviously we didn't, or maybe we were not aware of how many people were relying on the buses on Sunday until we thought about discontinuing the route. So I'm a little bit concerned that we were about to make a decision without realizing the total impact of it.
Actually, let me take that question.
Yes.
Sunday is our lowest ridership day of all the days of the week. And so as we were, making hard decisions, we definitely don't want to impact even one customer. But if there was a day that would be subject to review, it would be our lowest ridership day, which was Sunday. Again, we don't want to impact any of our customers, but as we were making decisions and putting our proposed amended budget together, we decided that Sunday would be a good day to consider, again, not only for financial reasons, but to also allow us to have a COVID reset day. We were looking for an opportunity to do deeper cleaning because We have also heard from the community they want to make sure that we're doing a deeper level of cleaning and prevention to ensure that our customers remain safe. So it's not that we were completely out of touch. It's just that the data did drive our decision. That was our lowest ridership day. But again, always subject to discuss it, always happy to hear from the community. As you heard from Mr. Owens, our collaborative efforts have resulted in an elevated conversation. I think there are people that are talking about our service that frankly weren't talking about our service week before last. And so I think that it's a real opportunity. So please don't take that to mean that we're not listening to the community.
Well, what I meant was that obviously it sent off some alarm bells that we were not aware of. And are we able to track this data efficiently and before we make a reaction in the community? That's all I'm saying. Is there a better way? Because we certainly do not want to keep people that need transportation from having transportation, especially if Mr. Owens is stating that Sundays are a critical day in the tourism industry as far as getting people to the hotels and service workers. They are critical to the tourism industry. So I just am curious to know, because he made it sound like it was having a huge impact. So that's why I'm curious as to why that didn't show up, or we weren't tracking it, or we weren't able to track it.
Well, unfortunately, our data is numbers. It's just numbers of people. And so we don't necessarily know, who those people are. We just know that by the numbers, Sunday is our lowest ridership day. I think that we have an opportunity again to fill that void of not knowing specifically who those numbers are based on the relationships that we're going to be able to form with a lot of our entities. There are a lot of people that have weighed in on this discussion. And so again, I just think that this is a tremendous opportunity that we have in front of us. I don't have just a slam dunk or a good answer for you right now. But I do look forward to you being a part of the conversations that we're going to be having over the next 90 days, as well as any member of the board, because as I said, we all are in this together.
Thank you.
I just want to add, I think maybe when we looked at the Sunday numbers, the assumption was, at least on my side, was that most of those were just churchgoers and not necessarily employees with critical job, like the hospitals, of course. I'm sure we have the ability to track all that data. I don't know if we have the time to look at every little piece, but the fact that the community has responded when they found out what was happening, that's good. And I think restoring those two committees within the board structure of transportation being one of them, where those types of stakeholders are asked to give feedback to the board. So I think that's a priority. And like I said before, we got to get back to that. It's been sorely lacking for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions for Mr. Cooksey, we'll actually turn it over to Ms. Freni for the communications and marketing update.
Thank you, Ms. Malden, board chair and board chair and board members. I look forward to sharing or answering any questions that you all may have based on the system development update that is in your board packets. But really briefly, I'd like to say that I'm looking forward to building upon the current marketing and communication initiatives already in the works here at CAT. and creating new opportunities to create or to increase awareness of the great work that CAT does in the community. Yesterday, we had a really great media day. 2 news stations were here. We also sent out a press release about the barriers being installed on the buses. I'd like to thank Director Edminster for being here and being a part of those activities. We are working on a few special projects in our department, including adding a new employee engagement, really based off of the great work that Aspire has done. We've added a new employee engagement position in this department that we are looking forward to engaging or using to engage our employees on a regular basis to get feedback. Post-COVID, whenever that may be, we will be looking at doing a bus rider survey so that we do have the most accurate information on who our riders are. I can tell you that probably 70 to 80% of our riders are using our service to go to work every day. So we make a major economic impact in this community. And it is very important that we have messaging around that, especially as we start to create more community committees and outreach opportunities. It'd be great to have messaging around just how much of an economic engine CAT is in this community. We are, again, expanding our community outreach initiatives. Our employee engagement initiatives will be expanded. And I'll just give you a really brief update on the media relations activities that happened last month in this department. We had 9 TV stories, 16 print and media impressions, and we were also able to increase our social media presence exponentially. I'm looking forward to working with the team to do more on social media, again, to expand the messaging around CAT. If there are any questions, I am here to answer them, and I look forward to working with the team going forward. Thank you.
I also wanted to commend everybody on yesterday's little media get together. I have been saying this since I've been on the board, just the importance of marketing and optics is it's pretty big. And I was really impressed with the level of professionalism and how much fun everybody had. You know, it was cool seeing maintenance and drivers and administration all kind of working together on a singular goal. And yeah, that was very cool. I'm excited to see, you know, really, I think it's, you know, seeing what happened yesterday, hearing Mr. Owens, thinking about how, you know, more people are talking about CAT and the services that it provides. All of these need to be happening in chorus, and all of these, you know, seem to be happening in chorus. So it's very exciting.
Thank you. And I look forward to working with you, Mr. Edminster, on marketing and communications initiatives.
All right. Any additional questions for the marketing and communication report? If not, we will turn it over to Mr. David Stearns.
Good afternoon now, board members. I would like to just point out that the administrative services update is in a board packet now. The update will be a little more in depth than my slideshow, but some key highlights. Just fix that. So the compliance department continues to work on updating policies. We're about 19% complete on our policies. Programs, we've created a compliance program, which includes training and a hotline that we've implemented, an anonymous hotline, a whistleblower hotline. So we're very pleased with that. We are creating initiatives to implement commitments to Title VI and other type compliance programs. And we're rolling out very soon a training program in LMS system, LMS stands for Learning Management System, which will allow us to not only train employees and management, but also track that training and show that, yes, you did get that training. When people forget whether or not they got that training, we'll be able to remind them that they did. But it's also a nice way to engage all employees, especially kind of in a COVID way. We can push that out. We're continuing to work on process improvements and engage in stakeholders to collaborate on things to improve CAT and processes at CAT and working together. The procurement department, you'll be pleased to see within the board packet, we now have started listing all board level contracts and when they were entered and when they expire. So you can turn to your board packet to kind of get a summary of that. Obviously, didn't want to go through each contract on here, but I just thought we would give you an update on some outstanding solicitations, electric, bus, and infrastructure. I think we're going to have to up that a little bit based on the battery situation, but the bus consortium, that's our consortium with the ability to buy buses and some other vehicles. That is a wait-in contract award. We expect that in December, and we'll be able to buy off that. Legislative advocacy, that's in the evaluation stages at this point, and will hopefully be to the board for a recommendation in November. General counsel, well, that was sent to the board today, but obviously tabled. SKT, that's the Susie King Terry Ferry Rehab. We have that out for an IFB that is due on December 4th. So the hope is to have that before the board in December. And our project management RFQ is due in November with a hope of having that before the board in November as well. So HR department, we're excited to announce that there's some departmental reorganization and optimization occurring. We are looking at ways to make HR more efficient, utilizing technologies and best practices. And we're looking at how can we serve employees best. We're in the midst of developing an employee handbook and updating all of CAT's job descriptions to make sure they match the current functionalities of what the jobs do. As we all kind of know, jobs kind of change and are kind of updated along the way. We want to just make sure our job descriptions track what actually jobs are doing, just to kind of be on top of things for HR. And risk management, we have claim monitoring happening, and we are looking to implement a risk management platform. This is something that will allow us to drill down, for instance, how many accidents happen on Abercorn and Bull? Is that a issue with driver training, or is that an issue with you can't see or something like that? So a platform will allow us to really drill down on that. The actual claims that we are working with for auto liability and workers' comp are in the board packet, as you're used to seeing typically under the system development or safety, division. It's now under risk management. So that's it for administrative services. If there's any questions, I'll take questions.
I actually have one, David, on the electric buses. We're moving that from probably later in the early 2021. When is the infrastructure project going to begin for Georgia Power? And how long are they going to need to set up the generator system at the site?
So we actually are kind of underway in the sense of they're getting the material and all. The low grant that we have with the FTA allowed us to partner with Georgia Power, as I'm sure the board knows. So we don't have to worry about doing a IFB or anything like that. So they're kind of underway. I think the goal is to have what we need in place before the
buses get here. Yeah. Okay.
We need to charge them in order for them to run.
I just wanted to check on that because I know we haven't talked about Georgia Power in a while, and I know they had a special order, the specific transformer for the property, and just want to make sure they're following what we're doing.
Yeah. My understanding is they're underway doing what they're not on site obviously yet because it is an order process, but they're kind of underway in that process.
All right. Thanks. Great. Thanks, Dave. Great.
I got a question when it's my turn.
Um,
Are you ready?
Director Edminster, did I hear you have a question?
It's answered.
Okay, Director Odell.
Okay, so go back to your slide where you talked about reorganization.
Under HR.
Yeah, you said reorganization, job descriptions. Okay,
Uh-huh.
wasn't this the board meeting that we were supposed to get that reorganization chart and those job descriptions?
So I'm referring to specifically, I don't know what happened there. Sorry. I'm referring in that slide very specifically to HR reorganization and HR's job description for all of, so for instance, we'll have a job description for procurement specialist. And so that job description may be, based on 8 years ago when it was drafted. Well, is the procurement specialist still doing those things from 8 years ago? Versus, jobs kind of progress as you kind of get into the role. So we need to make sure that all of our job descriptions for all the jobs we have at CAT are up to date. So when we're looking at job descriptions, we're looking at current jobs and roles. Obviously, if there is a new role, then you would have a new job description. But
right. So where's our org chart? What is the current organizational chart for CAT?
So the, Ms. Burkhardt, where are you going? I was going to say, I believe the org chart is, I thought it was on the website, but I don't know if it's been provided in the board packet this time around. There was, I believe last month, an org chart that was provided.
Yes, and we were told that we would get job descriptions based on that org chart.
I'll take that. That was actually what we were planning to do as a part of the budget workshop that was scheduled on the 5th. As you know, we had to change course based on actions last night. And so we are regrouping, and I'm going to be working with the chair in terms of the best way to present this information. So I'm
sorry, I'm lost. I don't know what happened last night.
Okay. We worked in concert with the Tourism Leadership Council as well as the Savannah Chamber and made the decision to delay the rollout of the service reductions that were scheduled on November 1st. As a result of that, we made the request to pull back the proposed amended budget that we were going to be discussing, because the delayed rollout is going to cause us to have to do some recalculation of the figures that the budget was based on. So
but I was a little confused about that as well, because aren't the union drivers guaranteed hours?
They are guaranteed hours, but we renegotiated an agreement with the union with regard to how their work would be carried out during the service optimization.
Okay, so how does that affect the organization chart?
I'm going to work with the chair to come up with a new schedule for those discussions. Those discussions are a part of the budget workshop. And so I'm going to work with the chair to come up with a new schedule for when we can discuss that in a workshop setting.
But don't those changes impact the current budget?
They actually do not impact the current budget, because the current budget is $3 million more than the budget that we're actually recommending for amendment.
See, that's what I don't understand. I don't understand how we got in the positive when we were hemorrhaging money because we had a special call meeting waiting on the CARES Act. I don't understand how now we're flush.
Okay. The financial update is actually coming up next. We didn't have a budget. We had a cash flow situation. And that's what the call meeting was about. It was about a cash flow situation, not a budget hemorrhaging situation.
But didn't we figure out that we were accruing money and not actual money? So I really want to know, I don't want to know about accrued money. I want to know about actual money, because that's how we got in that mess to begin with. What are our actual monies?
Okay. Commissioner Odell, with all due respect, every month since August, we have provided cash flow reporting as well as accrual reporting.
Okay. Okay. So what we're getting today will be actual monies and accrual.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on the current budget, not the amended budget.
Based on the current budget, not the amended budget.
Okay.
Were there any other questions for the administrative services update?
Not sure where my question is. I just looked. I see there is an organizational chart in the budget workshop book. Could we maybe get that updated to include who was in those positions? Because I think a lot of us board members who are only on here about once or twice a month have kind of lost track of who's who. And it would be great to see names instead of occupations.
Yeah, like, are those people currently hired? Like, we got
just so we know where we're filled in, where we're
we're
still short, and that kind of thing. I mean, I know there's a lot to do, but that would help us as a board.
Yeah, because like
Dr. O'Halloran, with
our
the
marketing
color
person is new.
code, there's a color code legend in that book. Gray positions are positions that are future positions. The green positions are the green lighted, the management structure. The blue positions are ones that are currently filled. And then, of course, again, that was something that was scheduled for the upcoming budget workshop with the changes that have taken place over the last 24 hours. Again, we plan to get with the chair to work out a different schedule. We want to provide the board with as much information as possible.
Yeah, I'm fine with changing the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ted.
But I thought you said we would get the org chart and that stuff prior to the budget workshop. Because I kind of had it noted that we were supposed to have that stuff this board meeting. Because we have new positions, we have new people.
Okay.
And you've had people who have left.
That was
people
included.
Have been promoted.
That was actually included in the budget book. You don't have your hard copy budget book yet. Unfortunately, we have not been able to connect, but I would be happy to meet you even immediately following this meeting to make sure that you can have your hard copy budget book. But that information is included. And I do also believe that Ms. Dumas has sent out an electronic version of that document as well to the board. But I can meet you immediately following this meeting to make your hard copy available to you.
Yeah, but I thought I didn't in the digital copy, I didn't see a full org chart.
It's in the hard copy book.
Tabitha, is this what you're looking for?
Yeah, with all the names and everything on it.
True, it does need some. It does need some names.
The names will help us all because, you know, when we have a question, we don't know who's doing what. I mean, we know who the chiefs and stuff are, but after that, it kind of falls apart. So if we could just fill that in, I'd be happy.
Okay.
And we got new people.
We would be happy to do that, and we'll be happy to provide that. Again, I'm going to be working with the chairman to come up with a new schedule. We've just had some changes over the last 24 hours. And so, again, we will be working with the chairman to come up with a new schedule for when we can have a workshop to discuss all of these changes.
And will that include how the promotions and salary increases impact the current budget?
Yes, ma'am, it will.
I just got a question. David, you mentioned that this I couldn't find this on the website. So if it is on there, maybe
It may not be.
It could be a little
I
easier
thought we
to
were
find,
putting-
but just so you know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought it may have been, but
No worries. No worries.
thank you.
And gray is not filled, right? As of the printing of whatever. I'm
Right,
looking at.
gray is not filled. But again, once we get the meeting, the workshops rescheduled, we'll dig into it into more detail. All right, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Gloria Royal, who is going to present the financial update.
Thank you, Ms. Malden. Good afternoon, Chairman and Directors. The financial update for September 2020 is as follows. Next slide.
Do you know that their per capita death rate?
The revenues for the month ending September 30th total $1,853,651 and are $595,358 below budget. We continue running fare free service during the month of September due to COVID-19. There were no revenues collected from fare boxes or shuttle services for this reporting period. Total expenditures for the month are $1,916,060. From the original adopted budget, we are under budget by $380,596. Total expenditures are over revenues for the month by $62,409 and over year to date, $402,205. Next slide, please. Currently, our major revenue sources are special district transit taxes, which is 57.75%, paratransit, which is 22.70%. These funds are received through Chatham County. Federal grants revenue is 16.91% of total revenue. Contract revenue, which is 2.46, includes agreements with the City of Savannah, Savannah Convention, the Westin, and the University Shuttle. The agency's greatest expenses are salaries and wages, which is 46%, and employees' benefits, 19%. The remaining expense categories represents less than 10% of each of total expenses. Next slide. Our cash receipts for the month of September is as follows. Special district taxes, we received $95,559. July through September, transit taxes received totaled $908,635, which is only 7.1% of the budgeted amount for the year. Paratransit, we've received $398,437,000. We received from the City of Savannah for marine services a total of $36,619. FTA grant.
A blessing and a curse. How you doing? Good.
Mute.
Ms. Royal, you're actually on mute.
I'm sorry about that, Ms. Gloria. I muted the wrong caller. You could begin again. You could start.
Okay, with our FTA grant assistance for the month of September, we received $711,073. Of that and $11,397 was CARES Act funds for reimbursement of operating expenses for the month of August. Our operating cash balance as of September the 30th, $4,112,855. Next slide. Based on the original adopted budget, our projected cash balance for June 30th, 2021 is $4,641,125,000. And this is based on our ending cash balance of $4,112,000 that we had at the end of September the 30th. We continue to work through COVID-19 and we are uncertain the impact this may continue to have on our finances. This concludes the monthly financial update. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Ms. Royal, on this last one, let me not answer that phone. So the lines here were confusing me. It seems that we have had our actual cash flow. Are these colors supposed to be different, or are they?
Yes.
Or is this correct?
Actually, the actual is the brown or gold line.
Got it.
And the blue is projections.
We have either been very consistent or the colors are the opposite. All right, cool. That makes a lot more sense, and I just wanted to make sure that that's correct.
Yes, sir.
But all in all, I mean, I don't want to like speak out of line or anything, and I'm always trying to learn more about, you know, being able to read these and understand the stuff properly. But it looks like we're in an okay financial position.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't understand how we got to okay.
Given everything going on right. Well, if I can understand it, and maybe if I can try to explain it, then that might help me understand it. It seems
because
that
we're not
didn't
taking
have
in any revenue.
cash due to, wait, give me a minute, Tabitha. We didn't have any cash because the receipts from Chatham County wouldn't come in until later, and we still had to spend money to keep things going. But what ended up happening instead is that the CARES money came in, which will allow us to continue until Chatham County tax money comes in. Is that kind of a, you know, missing a lot of details, but that's kind of what's going on?
But when we had the other budget meeting, we found out that we were running numbers based on accruals and not actual. So there was like 16 million over a period of time that we have been not addressing. So I want to start back to that meeting and then catch me up as to how we now have money. Because if we had no money on an accrual until we got cash, but even the accrual was not matching the actual. I don't understand. How do we go from not having money, running a deficit over 5 years, Terry paying Peter, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, to now we're just good? I don't understand that. I mean, Helen, am I wrong? Weren't we told that we were running a deficit over an extended period of time that went all the way back 5-8 years? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I was going to say, may I answer? I believe that Ms. Williams can actually answer the questions, but we were just simply waiting for Commissioner Odell to complete her question. But we want to be responsive.
Okay, I'm finished.
So to give you a high level synopsis of what happened, and I'm sorry, I didn't have my light on. So when we had the meeting, the special call meeting in August, the cash flows were depleted due to not having the CARES Act funds in receipt during that time. The $16 million deficit was an illustration to how the organization has been operating in a deficit year after year, and what the reason why it wasn't a deficit all the way through to the audit statement is because there was always money pulled from the reserve account with Georgia Fund 1, or the line of credit was pulled down to close the gap at the end of the year. So CAT utilizes the accrual funding method because that's just what's required by GASB, the accounting method regulators. You have to use GASB. So when the cash flow is impacted, that's why we recommended to show you guys the actual cash versus what's accrued. So there's an understanding or no misunderstanding going forward on how much actual cash is on the balance sheet. Also, the bank account is now maintaining a $3 million threshold due to the CARES Act money coming in. So we were able to put $4 million into reserves. We're not using the line of credit currently. And there's a maintaining average balance, average collected balance of $3 million in our Wells Fargo account. So yes, there was a deficit when we had the special call meeting because we did not have the CARES Act fund, and the bank balances got to well under, I think it was $1 million, significantly under $1 million. But with getting the CARES Act money, we were able to move some money into the reserve account and then make whole the bank balance account, which is why at the end of September, it was $4.1 million. Does that make sense, Commissioner Odell?
Yes, but where are we now actually?
So we won't know until we close out the month of October. So in October, there were some changes that should be reflected when we have our board meeting next month in November. And due to us waiting to amend the budget, you'll be able to see what the cash position is at that time. I won't be able to tell you what that is today because we haven't closed out October, and typically we'd like to close it out, true it up, reconcile it, and then present the numbers to the board during the regular board meeting.
So based on these numbers,
these numbers are based on the $27 million adopted budget. These are not based on the amended budget. This is just based on where we are at the end of September and where we think we're going to be based on.
We're not going to run out of the current budget.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
You said based off of the current budget that was approved?
Yes. Yes, by the board last year. So that's based off the $27.6 million budget.
So we're going to have money.
So this is this is based on projections of the 27.6 million. So please note that this is also based on an expectation of higher revenue sources. So when we amend the budget in 90 days, this picture will look differently because this is an assumption that we would collect what was adopted in the budget last year. And that's not the case anymore, because we just explained about not collecting fares over the last couple months and some of the other revenue impacts that are not presented on this sheet, which include the sales tax, the special district transit tax that is going to be decreased from what was projected in the adopted budget because the county has already notified us that there was going to be some impact on collections. So this picture is accurate as of the end of September, but there will be a change when we amend the budget. Right now, this is just projections off of a $27 million budget that was adopted, that the board adopted in June. So yes, it is a little bit overstated, but that's just because we're basing it on what was adopted. We can't change this until the board actually formally approves the amended budget.
And Ms. Williams, would you at least state the amount that we originally?
I'm sorry, I got cut.
Ms. Williams, would you mind sharing the amount would you mind sharing the amount that we were at least proposing to amend the budget from?
Yes, so given the impacts to the revenues that we are all aware of, the new amount was 24 million. I think it was 24.4 million. And the reason why we reduced that, it's about a $3.1 million decrease, is because we are recognizing that we are not collecting the revenues at the rate that we projected last year when the budget was adopted. The budget was adopted, I know, during the COVID period, but there has continued to be impacts to the revenues due to COVID and due to some of the steps that the organization is trying to take to keep the passengers safe and the employees safe.
And even during these 90 days, although the amended budget has not been officially approved, we are going to actually continue to curtail our spending, and so that we can spend in alignment with at least something that is closer to what we were projecting for our amended budget, which is far less than our original budget.
I have a quick question.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
This projected cash versus actual cash, this just goes up through June on this chart. So where are we now?
We are currently at the end of September. I'm sorry, I don't know feedback is on their phone, but I think it might be Director Odell. There's some feedback on your phone. So Director Stone, the actual cash is the 4.112 at the end of September.
On the chart, it looks like that's the end of June.
Yeah, next month we'll work on making this a little bit more clear for the board. I can see how this could be perceived as not clear. So, hey, Beverly, is there any way you can? Oh, okay, thank you. So yes, the end of September, we reconcile the cash month to month. So what was actually in the bank account was the 4.112 at the end of September. And then I think where the confusion is that this orange line, which is supposed to be actual, remains at the $4 million level, but that's actually not. It's going to go up and down based on the expenses going out and the revenues coming in. So next month we'll change this chart to give you a better picture of this.
Right, because we don't have any of any of the actual or projected from June to, we're now almost in November on on what you're showing here.
Yeah, I think what would be helpful going forward, one is making this this slide particularly more clear, but also to provide you the actual the bank account balances for our accounts, including the reserve account, so you know exactly what it was at the end of that bank statement period. Not giving you the statement, but at least just giving you the numbers, so then you can digest that information differently, and there hopefully would eliminate any confusion going forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we are continuing to refine our financial reporting as we work through this transition. That is one thing that we are working to do. And so it is a work in progress. So we're trying to, again, provide as much information as we can so that you have as much information as you need to make decisions for the agency. So.
I actually have one quick question, and I think it might clarify a few things. When we looked at that chart with the revenues, expenses, and deficits, is the deficit from each year rolled over as an expense to the following year? Is that how that gets taken care of? because when you totaled that up, it was 16 million. And I know we're not $16 million in the hole. If we were 1.2 million behind this year, would that roll over as an expense for next year against the revenues from next year?
No, because the law requires us to balance the budget. So not only do you have to balance the budget when you adopt it at the end of the year, that has to be, you can't leave it uneven. It can't be uneven with revenues or vice versa with expenses. So what happens is you do amendments to true up the end of the fiscal year to make sure that your revenues match the expenditures. This is a GASB rule. This is something we can't get around. It has to be balanced at the beginning and at the end. So the $16 million deficit, that chart was just to show you based on the revenues and expenditures, that transactions that occurred within that time period of the fiscal year, where it left us. It did not include what was in the bank account, because the bank account absorbs those losses and so does the line of credit. So the practice has been that at the end of the year, when finance trues it up, that we notice that there's a deficit, and then we pull from the reserve account, and then we also use the line of credit to make ourselves whole. So
yeah, it's not a cumulative deficit.
No, it's not a cumulative deficit,
Yeah,
because
I think that's where the big confusion was, that we had lost $16 million somehow. And it really is whatever that last figure was like 1.2 million. And that's what the LOC and the bank accounts take care of. So in essence, we have to add that money back to those accounts the following year as expenses. And that covers those. Okay, now I'm very clear about it. I've been thinking about it, and we had to draw back on a long history of old accounting practices to
and we provided that information as for something to for the board to digest. In other words, we wanted the board to understand that the cash flow issue that we had in August was a symptom of a larger problem, and honestly a problem that predated my arrival here at Chatham Area Transit.
Yeah, and the CARES Act we had assumed was going to cover all that for us.
Correct, but with the increased expenses that came about as a result of COVID, it didn't quite patch the hole the way maybe we hoped it would. Yeah. And so we were just trying to provide historical perspective for the board to understand the why we were at that point with the cash flow.
Yeah, and understand it made sense after I looked at it in a different perspective. Completely.
Right. And the reason why the sense of urgency at that time and the call meeting at that time was, had the CARES Act funding not come in literally on the day of the board meeting,
we were doomed.
There was not another thing that I could have done without board intervention. So knowing that, I wanted to err on the side of over communicating. I feel like I have terrified you all in the process, but I wanted to over communicate on where we were financially. And so we were making an attempt to give you historical perspective, be open and honest and transparent in where we were financially, and try to set a precedent of providing you all with more information than you've ever had before, so that when you make decisions, you can actually be more confident in the decisions that you make because you've been provided with more information.
Yeah, and I do appreciate it. We got a lot quick, and I think it led to a little disheartenment among the board. I had been following with Terry for about 6 months where we were dollar for dollar with CARES Act, and there was a date that we set in our heads as if something didn't happen by that date, we were out of money. And it kept moving because, of course, expenses changes and everything else. But I do appreciate that you let us know we were there. It's good that we did know it. And I think problem is when we do a budget, we're estimating how much revenue we're going to get, and there's never a guarantee that you're going to collect 100%. So the budget has to be adjusted all year long based on those actual cash flow amounts, which we're seeing now on these graphs, that we weren't really paying attention to, I guess is the best way to look at it. I know we used the LOC during the low months to fill in, and we used the money in the other account to fill in when we didn't have revenues coming from taxes and the other sources. But yeah, it's tough because we have to project that out for a year, and there is no guarantee on 100% collection. So at the end of the year, yeah, we could be over revenues because we get a big chunk of revenue in June, and that's the end of the budget year. So that is does not make it conducive to doing good budgeting. And I know we try, and it's a long process, but it's literally like a crapshoot. Not to be overly glib, but it's a tough job to predict a year in advance where the revenues are going to be. We know where the expenses are going to be. We're pretty much fixed on a lot of that, but I appreciate the clarifications, and I think we're all in a better spot as far as our deficit. I'd love to see it be zero every year, but you know, if anybody's that good at guessing, then I guess we're better than we thought. All right, thanks everybody. Great information.
Thank you. All right. If there are no, I'm sorry. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to actually turn the meeting back over to the chairman. That concludes the executive director's report.
Just one thing I wanted to say, which isn't really about anything. The board packet looks great. The summation of votes early on in the board packet was really helpful. A lot of times I talked about board packets for a while too, and it's very nice to see a well-organized document. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. All right, going into old business. Are there any old business from the board or staff that should be brought forward?
Just my constant reminder, we need to change those KPIs. They're looking worse and worse as we move through the COVID pandemic.
All right. All right. Moving into new business. Do we have any new business from the board or staff to introduce to the floor? No. Okay, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all the great presentations we had today.
To have on the new business. Does that? Hey, can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Who? Cody, you can hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes. Okay, I've got some requests I'd like to add under new business.
All right.
Okay, so I'd like to get an idea of our current contractors, independent contractors, consultants from June to present, if we could, and how that's affecting the money. And I'd like to know the organizational charts, how that's changed, who's there now, who's gone, you know, how that impacted the salaries, how that will impact salaries, and how that's going to impact us getting through the end of the year. You know, with the job descriptions and task outlines.
All right. Beverly, do you have that?
Yes, sir. I'm taking notes.
All right.
So if we can get the contracts what they were assigned to do, and the invoices and payments outlined, and how that impacts the budget.
All right. Do we have anything else on new business? All right, thank you for that, Director Odell. With that being said, no other items to entertain on the agenda. I call for adjournment today. Time is 12:46. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank
All right,
you.
good to see you.